addiction, life-controlling issues, trauma, and brokenness, hopelessness. January 26th of 2021, I came to the end of the road when I got in a high-speed chase with the police one night. I had an extremely large amount of meth on me, and I was trying to throw it all out the window before I'd stopped the car for him. Some of it made it out, some of it didn't, because I didn't get all the windows rolled down. So when I finally stopped and pulled over, we had our words, I was basically asking him to just shoot me and end this, because I knew I was going to go to prison probably for the rest of my natural life. I was looking at 50 years, is what it ended up amounting to. After about 30 days in jail, I ended up bonding myself out. I knew that if I didn't get out of there, I was going to die in a prison, and I wasn't going to let that happen. I was going to take myself out. I was going to go out on my terms. So I got myself out, and my ex-parole officer had come over with my mother, and he had told me, you've been doing this your whole life. Now, what do you want to do about it? And I said, well, this is what you've done your whole life, so tell me what I can do about it. He said, so I know this guy up in Elkhart, Indiana, at a place called Adult Teen Challenge named Derek Lyons. And I said, well, okay, I need 2 weeks. 2 weeks ended up turning into almost 2 months, because about a week later, I had ran my car into a brick wall and wrought iron fence doing about 60 miles an hour because I just had enough. I was at that point. So there's another end of the road. So I hope y'all see God saved my life at several points through this story. I had to get cut out of the car, and while I was pinned in the car, and I don't know, some of you may have been through some traumatic experiences where everything just gets still and peaceful. I heard a voice, and I remembered this later, that I've always been out here waiting for you. And I thought, wow, I just really hit my head hard. What's going on? After they get me cut out of there, they took me, I think maybe to the golf course in Bristol, and they got me in a helicopter. They got me into South Bend. They felt the need to get me in there in under 2 minutes. So as the helicopter was landing, I heard, I'm going to let you get through this, and you can go out and finish what you're doing, and then you're coming to me. I walked out of that hospital that night after only being there about 12 hours, and the doctor told me it was a miracle. A week later, I was doing meth again. I walked out of there with a concussion, I think, and 11 broken ribs and a broken nose. So I used every excuse possible to prolong all my time of having to turn myself in to Teen Challenge, and I finally got there, and I didn't grow up with Jesus in my life, so that's one thing I didn't know. I never knew the love of Jesus. Eventually, I did find the love of Jesus. I got saved there. I got baptized with some of my brothers there. I promised myself I wasn't going to do over a year there. One day over a year. And, eventually I decided, the Lord was speaking to me. He wants me to stick around and do an internship. And I heard something similar to, I'll let you know when it's time for you to leave. So I had fired my attorney while I was there in the conference room. Derek Lyons had to be in prison for that as well. And I told him I'd kill myself before I signed a 30-year plea. I fired him, and he said, for legal reasons, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. I said, so let me say it again. I'll kill myself before I sign this and go die in prison. So I ended up hiring an attorney, and it was a pretty good one. And then they hit me with a 6 to 20 habitual offender. So they trumped me there. I ended up staying, and I graduated. I become a Ready Now recovery facilitator, and I signed a 10-year plea, and then on sentencing day, or shortly before sentencing day, I had to go back for one more hearing. For me being faithful to this program and to the Lord, I got down to 5 years in the DOC and then 5 years on community corrections, which is why I have this little friend now on my ankle. When I got to the prison, I just minded my own business basically, and I ended up becoming a dorm representative where I got to help people. I had access to case managers, and I was pretty much at the top of the chain there. So I did 30 months out of this 50 years that I was originally looking at by staying faithful to the Lord. And the whole time, you know, I was offered drugs, I was offered cigarettes and this and that because I was in this position. And I stayed faithful to the Lord through this whole thing. I had only finished 8 months of my internship, so the Lord was telling me, you're going to go back and you're going to finish this because there's more for you to do. And I think I have some other speaking engagements in my future. The Lord's opened some doors for me. And man, the guys at Teen Challenge that just helped me through this whole time, God could not have put a better group of men in my life to help me get through this. So, I mean, this is what you're supporting. You know, you're helping people like me. And you know that at 55 years old, I can be changed. Anybody can be changed from 18 to 80.
Yes.
The Lord's done in my life. I stood on that verse, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, Philippians 4:13. That got me through some really tough times. And as well as Jeremiah 29:11. I know you all know that one. So I'm just living this out and remaining faithful to the Lord. Thank you. Thank you for your support.